MC, Mahina, periods, trumps. This is the topic of this first story, my journey with my menstrual cycle. And I'm aware, even as I step into this video, of the self consciousness that I have on this topic, despite all the work that I've done. That why are you making a video and sharing that with people on something, on a topic which is associated with shame, with privacy? It's one of those things that you're taught. Your mother takes you aside and talks to you about it, or in school boys and girls have to be separated and girls have to be talked about this told about this separately. This is also not a topic that you discuss with males in the presence of males. If you go to a chemist shop, then to purchase a sanitary napkins, then they give it to you in a very nice brown package or newspaper package. So really, there is so much uh, shame really associated with this, and I think can relate with that because despite all the openness of my upbringing and of all the education that I was given about it, just when my period started, the fact that it's something so different shook me up in a way that I couldn't understand. And I actually remember I did not mention this to my mother also for several months. That was the kind of relationship I think I had with my menstrual cycle. Shame. The way this relationship evolved later on was largely driven not by my thoughts around it as much as the symptoms that I started feeling as time went by. Right from, I don't remember school time, but I remember at work for sure, and even post marriage. There was pain that started coming, and I think after I started working. So there was pain, discomfort, all kinds of discomfort. I also started noticing that my menstrual cycle started becoming erratic. There were days when it would, it would get massively delayed. And this is something that I didn't piece together up until quite late after my issues had actually been resolved. That my periods were associated with with like just massive mood swings. There was this particular time when I was working, and I was not happy internally at work, but I didn't know. And every couple of weeks, I would have episodes where I would just feel like harming myself. All kinds of thoughts, harming myself, just suicidal thoughts of doing something that would harm me. And I didn't understand where this was coming from, but I realized later on that the connection was that this would come every 4 to 5 weeks, which is it would coincide with my menstrual cycle, and I had not put those pieces together. So anyway, what I did for it was going into to a gynac, tried rounds of medications that didn't work. I actually also in 2013, when I became a yoga instructor, I spent a good amount of time on my yoga practices, and this was something that had still not gone. So I remember going to the doctors there and consulting with the Ayurvedic, naturopathic, as well as the yoga doctors, because the problem was not sorted. My other health issues had gone, but my periods problem was not sorted. And it moved to a point where at one point of time fibroids were suspected, so I went in for my investigations also. um, so really my relationship with my menstrual cycle was one, as I said, shame. The second was anxiety, arising from the fear that my cycle is coming and it's going to put me in immense discomfort. It's going to put me out of work, and work has always been very, very important to me. The third aspect of the relationship, which started happening over a couple of years, was actually hatred. So I actually hated the fact that women have periods. I saw it as a punishment. Um, I saw it as a punishment for myself, and for it was just a hatred over time for just the feminine, for women. I remember not having almost close to no relationships with women and being very proud that all my friends are boys and women are whatever, they're too feminine. Um, but that came from hatred for the feminine, and the periods were one of the big reasons for that, that the feminine has to go through such suffering. And in a strange way, they were also a reminder of somehow the anger and a lot of anger that I've held in my body for being a woman, especially growing up in Delhi, and just what one goes through on a daily basis in that process. So, again, my menstrual cycle connected me to just not wanting to be a woman, like feeling like, wrong, born in the wrong gender in some ways. And the time when this started shifting for me coincided with two major changes that I started introducing. As I said, I had been doing yoga, I had become a yoga instructor, but that had not helped. So the two major changes were my ahar, which is when I moved to eat food mostly plants. In fact, only plants for a long period of time. And the second is when I actually started cultivating emotional intelligence, understanding what emotions are. It started with actually having to name and learn the names of emotions because that's how limited my vocabulary was. I could articulate what I was thinking, but I had no awareness of what I was feeling other than the extremes, anger, fear, but on a day to day, basis. So, as I cultivated my emotional intelligence, I also understood how I had been rejecting my femininity. And the period's menstrual cycle is a reflection of our feminine nature. And it took me understanding what the cycle represents to actually start shifting how I saw this from not as a punishment, but actually really as a gift. This is a gift that women have been given to give life to another being, and extending that because I, for example, decided not to bring in children into my life, but also extending that to saying that it's about the creative process, about giving birth to something. For me, for example, Yoga Institute, my work with people has been very, very close to my heart, and that is what the menstrual cycle represents, the ability to give birth to something new. And so I stopped seeing this as as a punishment, and the pain, the discomfort that would come every month, I would start seeing that as an opportunity to just cleanse, really. And that again is a very unique gift that women have been given, and it's known that women, till the time their menstrual cycle is on, is are prevented from many, many, many health conditions which actually start setting in after menopause. And they call it the estrogen shield, but really women have that opportunity to do self cleansing, because in periods everything gets amplified. What someone may have said 3 weeks ago and you would have ignored it suddenly comes alive, and that emotion that one would have experienced becomes manifold then. And the body is really actually cleansing that out of our system so that it can create space for something new. And even the traditional practices in that sense around periods started making sense. I no longer viewed things that I'd heard that, women should not go to XYZ place, should not do this. Actually started seeing the intention behind that. That the intention is to provide that resting space, that cocoon to a woman for her to process whatever is it that she needs to let go of and to be prepared to give birth to the new, which is just, it may be one egg, but it represents creating something. It also meant that I had made other shifts, just like, I changed the food that I ate. I also changed the food that my reproductive organs were in contact with, which is moving away from plastic and whatever those synthetic sanitary napkins are, to cloth, to something that really is not coming from a place of disgust, but from a place of deep appreciation and love. And what started happening as I did this was my cycle started becoming predictable. It would be a 28-day cycle. Slowly, 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 it started sinking to the moon. My pain started reducing. Today, I'm at a place where there is discomfort for that one day. Many times, I've done sessions without people even getting to know. But I no longer see that discomfort as a punishment. I see that as an opportunity to rest, meditate, journal, cry, uh, really acknowledge what is it that I have gathered in the last 1 month that I wish to consciously release through this monthly cleanse. I'm more open talking about it. Doesn't seem like something embarrassing. I tell my family that my emotions will be heightened in this time, and I take that time off for myself. And I even factor my menstrual cycle into decision making to decide what is it that I engage in and not engage in. And yeah, in some ways, all I can say is I have learned in this period to not, in this period, through my periods, to not be bogged down by the menstrual cycle. But really, if I was to say it, and it sounds cheeky, but to ride the menstrual wave and to make our periods, our menstrual cycle, one of my biggest allies in manifesting who I truly am.